you for joining us live from Lotus Lake Buddhist Center in pastoral central Wisconsin. Situated on 65 acres of beautiful countryside, Lotus Lake is open year-round for private retreat and hosts annual group retreats under the spiritual guidance of Domo Geshe Rinpoche. Rinpoche will take questions at the end of the broadcast. White Conch is pleased to host Rinpoche's inaugural video, The Muse-Like Creative Energy of Tantra.
I'm glad to welcome you here to Lotus Lake. We are in the midst of a spring snowstorm, so we have just a few of our local residents here, and many of you are already my students, so hello, hello, and a special hello to Santa Fe, where we just came from a couple of days ago, as well as Milwaukee and other places. So tonight is the time when my dear Facebook friends, I want to have a conversation with you. But of course we live in a digital world, so you all look very much like you have the roundness of a camera lens. And but I see you every day, so I know what you look like. And this is my chance to say that I really do know many of you. I know whose dog is having puppies and what they look like. I see your new grandchildren. I see you announcing the passing of parents and getting new jobs and looking for jobs. It's quite a ride on Facebook. That I have learned more about American culture and Western culture on Facebook than I did by walking around my world. So interesting subject tonight that and quite unbeknownst to me, because I don't really keep a good calendar, is that our subject is about Tantra and the creativity. And tonight is once a month, it's full moon. And once a month, we have special ceremony, people here gathered for special offerings and dakini, tantric ceremony, once a month tantric ceremony. So here at Lotus Lake, we're actually going to do it tomorrow night because it requires preparation, but many of you are Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist, and are doing it tonight. So interesting subject, one that I've spoken about before, the relationship between the muses and creativity and inspiration, and the tantric process. However, this time I had the opportunity to do a little bit more research on Greek mythology, which if you can probably figure that I'm not that good at. And so I'd like to share with you what I have discovered. However, before we do that our entire discussion here this evening, really, the actual question that we want to know is what makes us feel alive? What makes us feel alive? That I would like to remind you that we have someone here that is monitoring on the website for your questions or what you would like to say, and either during the teaching or after the teaching, after we go on, I'd be happy to answer as many as possible. So my first question, which I think I'm going to answer mostly, is what makes us feel alive? And my first answer, well, it's kind of obvious. An obvious answer is that happiness makes us feel alive. Right? And what do you think, people here or there, if you can answer quickly enough? What makes us feel alive? And activity? any, like baking bread or activity, she says. Huh? What do you think? What makes us feel alive? Gardening makes us feel alive. Some people find gardening depressive. Other people find it makes us come alive. Huh? It's my second answer. Good health. Good health makes us feel alive. It's kind of obvious, but good health makes us feel alive. Why? Because our system is functioning properly. We're humming along, that we don't have anything that's telling us there's something wrong. There's nothing to break our feeling of feeling alive or lively. So what do you think? What else? What else makes us feel alive? It's so important. You've got 100 answers. Yeah. Spring flowers we have spring flowers here, huh? That spring flowers, but it's not really the spring flowers. What is it? There's something coming back to life. And so we could say that what makes us feel alive is the feeling just after we have been ill and we are coming back into our own feelings. Huh? Yes, we have a... yes. Heightened emotions. Oh, so this, what I'm hearing is that this doesn't have to be something that's good. I think I was really tending to more to the positive. But if we use the heightened emotions, we could say that terrible times, that there is no time when we are more alert than when we are having in a dangerous situation, that any heightened emotion makes us feel alive. Sometimes we don't like those feelings. Yes, very good. Yes, dear. When you have a goal that you've worked toward, or that you're working toward, or that you got it. That you got it. I disagree. I think that when you have worked really hard on something and you finally got it, it's a total letdown. that I think that you sustain this alive feeling while you're working toward this goal, and there's a certain moment of satisfaction, but the energy which you have been using during this whole time, that there is a drop in energy because it's done. Yeah. You're not a beekeeper then. Oh, okay. I'm not a beekeeper. Well, gee. When the bees are put into the hive and they're happy, it's done. It's a very live, yeah. Well, that's working with living beings too. So, my third answer, well-being. What makes us feel alive is an emotional, a psychological feeling of well-being, and coming up to our subject, which is what? Creativity. Interesting, because it's a complex interplay of many different dynamics that produce the state of feeling alive due to creativity, and that's the thing we want to talk about more. When our energy is moving, we feel alive. When our energy is stagnating, when we don't exercise, when we can't get outside because there's a snowstorm out there tonight, that we are feeling not so alive, and we want to, what they call nesting. We want to do nesting. We want to just get it below our blankets, and we don't want to, we just want to go to sleep. Huh? Yes. Huh? Yeah, go ahead. More things coming in from Facebook or from the website. Worthy tasks or goals that we can grab onto and invest ourselves in. There's so many worthy goals in our life or in the world today. Resolving terrorism, that we should do something about climate change, that we should that there's just so many things to accomplish, but so many of these goals are unreachable for ordinary people, and it doesn't make us feel alive to know that we can't do anything about it. So she said very cleverly, the ones that we can grab onto and do something about really make us feel alive, because we feel that we are on the point that we're in the crosshairs of the possibilities and that we can do it, we can accomplish it. Yeah. So when go ahead. A strong sense of purpose. A strong sense of purpose, absolutely. And my last answer was like that. Inspiration. What makes us feel alive is inspiration. So, coming from that, what makes inspiration so different, the feeling of inspiration, different from our own generated creative impulses and enthusiasm? There's a different dynamic in inspiration, and I'm asking you to think, whether you answer or not, I'm asking you to think, what is that feeling? What is the feeling of creativity? You've all had it. And how does that feel? And now remember a time when you had inspiration, genuine inspiration, and how did that feel? And now you compare the two feelings, and what is the difference? What is the difference? You know, advanced tantric practices are being able to hold two states of mind simultaneously, to be able to compare two states of mind, and furthermore, one could choose which state of mind they want to hold, or what are the dynamics that produce that state of mind. It can be quite a complex interplay of mental acumen. However, it's something that you can try to do here. So we'll just take a moment here, just a moment of quiet. And what is the difference? What makes inspiration different than our own generated, from our own internal creative impulses, for example, painting, singing, music, dancing, writing, whatever it is, and your own enthusiasm that you're able to generate. And I'll wait here for answers. What would you like to say?
You feel alive.
You feel alive in a way that is different from your own creative impulses? Is it more alive than your creative impulses?
I think so.
More alive. All right. What do you think?
I'm kind of liking it to this experience of something that walks out from the mist.
Something walking out from the mist.
That's what inspiration is like for me. You don't exactly know where it's coming.
Okay. You don't know where it's coming from, like something walking out of the mist. It's very poetic.
But it has
An uplifting.
yeah.
An uplifting quality. Very good. Very good. Any answers there?
Inspiration is kind of magnetic, drawing you towards something.
Magnetic, it's drawing you towards something.
That is from Tech.
Uh-huh. All right. So my answer actually is a little bit similar to what Searing was saying. There is an otherworldly feeling of being transported, or the arrival of energy from the unseen that is causing a burst of creativity, rather than something that you're thinking about and it's growing and it's something that you're building, your own creativity, that this seems to come from nowhere. And it produces a burst of energy, and a lot of people cannot tolerate that much inspiration. Huh? However, people who are creative in the creative arts, that you steel yourself waiting for inspiration. Isn't that so? What do you think?
Regarding
Inspiration. Burst of inspiration.
I like what you're saying about it coming otherworldly.
Otherworldly. It's an otherworldly feeling. Yes.
We've got from Sarah Buechler,
Inspiration is connected to something greater than we are.
Creativity is engaging in the same place.
Creativity is engaging in the same place that can be inspired, but is not connected to the transcendent. So some of you are equating inspiration from the transcendent. That my other answer of this is that it opens the door to the subconscious or the unconscious mind. So even for those of you who don't have a strong feelings of deity or heaven, or that something exists beyond what we can see, that surely you know that that you have an unconscious or a subconscious mind, is what we call subtle mind. And inspiration, however it comes, we still think of it as magic, that's okay too. It comes, it opens the door to our own unconscious levels of creativity. And so it comes a little bit different feeling. However, inspiration never arrives in your ordinary mind. Inspiration always arrives to your subconscious, to your subtle mind. And so as you open the door to your subconscious, you're actually accessing the place where inspiration could arrive. Make sense? All right. Why do we need inspiration? What do you think? Why do we need inspiration? Huh? Do you look for it? You're a painter. You look for it all the time. Most of the time. Why do we need inspiration? Why? Maybe we're built that way. Maybe we are built to have occasional bouts with inspiration that shake us. What would you like to say?
There's something about the expression that inspiration arrives, and it's almost like something speaking a deeper level of our.
It's like a deeper level. I have to repeat. It's like a deeper level of our own being is speaking to us. Huh? And but why do we need it? Why do we need it? Maybe it just gives us ideas, like this afternoon I was just resting, and I thought, I really want to get back to my mosaic studio. That I felt like I could just get in the car and just go to the studio. That it almost lifted me out of the chair, and I had to remember, no, I can't do it now, perhaps tomorrow, like that. Yes? We need inspiration to engage. I have no idea what he's saying. I'm going to take, yes? To engage? We need inspiration to engage. Is he saying further? Dorje, what the heck? Give me more information. We need... Rini says... Yes? A burst of energy toward our goals. What we cannot, because it is a heightened form of energy, what we cannot generate, what we cannot make for ourselves, that inspiration can lift us to accomplish things which we cannot do ourselves. So, my last question on this particular area is that what is it when you look at a piece of art, you go to a museum and you see a beautiful piece of art, or you watch a dance or hear a piece of music, and you feel something strongly, that I'm wondering if we could take a couple of minutes here to really think about what is it that's inside that music? What is it inside that piece of art or that dance? What is it that we are looking at? What is it that we are experiencing? What's inside it? What's inside that? What is it we are attracted to? Now we've been talking about inspiration coming to us, but I want to hear, or want to understand, what is the thing that is inside of music, art, the arts that we are engaging with. I think this is where we are talking about the artist rather than the art. That there is something that they are showing us, there's something that they're revealing about themselves, and it is a holy compulsion. It's a holy compulsion that they are displaying for anyone who happens to walk by. And even some of these very famous paintings, the Mona Lisa, or some of the other very famous paintings, and the artist is gone for centuries, and yet there is something still inside, as though there's an aliveness, as though we are able to view their inspiration. And that's the feeling I'd like us to think about as we go on a little bit further here and start talking about Tantra. Any
Yes. Not sure the context, but Rob McGowan says
when subject and object become one, that's what's inside of art. Yeah, that you're. Yeah, and I'm. What I'm hearing is that you're engaging directly with some kind of energetic, some kind of living energy, rather than, yes.
And to that point, Chini says a subtle form of energy that is touching our more subtle energetic being.
A subtle form of energy that is touching our more subtle level of our own being. Yes, yes, very good, very good. What would you like to say?
I just put down there's a dance that I was thinking of visual art.
Yes.
Painting my father-in-law did that I look at daily, and there is some, when you ask that question, what's inside?
Yes.
There is this dance of the color and the light it's a nonverbal.
A nonverbal. There's
I'm attracted
a nonverbal dance that draws our eye, around the colors and the forms that create a kind of communication, a nonverbal communication. Yes.
I'm assuming this is in reference to that Dorje says they are showing us something that puts into physical manifestation something that we sense.
They are putting into physical manifestation something that we can only sense. Very good. Thank you, Dorje. So this brings us to our discussion about muses. That according to Greek mythology, that the Lord of all gods, Zeus, right, seduced a human woman named Mnemosyne, and he slept with her for 9 consecutive nights. She later gave birth to 9 muses, who were both human and divine. They were daughters of Zeus. Their mother gave the babies to Apollo, another Greek god, who taught them the secrets of divine arts and knowledge. These young women, as they were growing, they were not interested in human everyday life. They were only interested in the arts. Maybe you were a muse. Maybe somebody out here has such a passion for art that even as a child, that's all that interested you. Maybe you a muse. Maybe you reincarnation of a muse. Anyway, these muses were actually Greek goddesses themselves, who both energized and inspired the arts and sciences. In paintings, the muses are usually depicted as ethereal women with divine beauty, holding laurels and other items depending upon the faculty. They're specific. And interestingly, the word museum comes from the Greek muses. Did you know that? I found that interesting. So, who are these muses and what did they do? So, the muse Clio revealed history and guitar. History was named Clio in the ancient times because it referred to Kleos, which is the Greek word for the heroic acts. And of course, in ancient times, that the history was a succession and a telling of heroic acts. Clio was always represented with a clarion in the right arm and a book in the left hand. Muse Euterpe revealed several musical instruments and dialect. Now, when I'm saying revealed, it's as though these things did not exist in our history up to that point. That they were something which actually belonged to the divine spheres, and that they were brought into manifestation in the form of arts and music and the playing of instruments and even history and dialect and many other areas of human knowledge that we accept now. They had to have an entry through the divine into ordinary human world. And so the muses, who were both divine and human, were the channel by which this knowledge could be brought into manifestation. So revealed, brought into manifestation. And she is depicted holding a flute and many instruments around her. So if you see those in ancient paintings, you know that was Muse Euterpe. And the muse Thalia was the patron of comedy. The patron of comedy. And she introduced comedy, and as well as, and I don't quite get the connection, geometry, architectural science, and agriculture. An interesting combination. With the kind of weather we're having for the farmers, I think that it may be more comedy, like that. And she is depicted holding a theatrical mask representing comedy, the laughing mask. Muse Melpomene was the patron of tragedy. She brought the art of theatrical tragedy, rhetoric, as well as melody. But as it is explained, it wasn't exactly melody, although you could put the notes together. But she brought the idea of the succession of notes that created another holistic meaning. So, melody. And she is depicted holding a mask of tragedy. Muse Terpsichore is the divine patron of dance. She brought inspiration for dances, the harp, and education. Terpo in Greek actually means to be amused. She is depicted wearing laurel wreaths, holding a harp, and dancing. Muse Erato was the patron of love and romantic poetry, as well as requested to bless weddings. Her name comes from the Greek word eros, that refers to the feeling of falling in love. Just recently, I gave some teachings trying to understand the feeling of falling in love. It was very different from actually being in love or remaining in love. It's the event. She is depicted holding a lyre, Lyre, and love arrows and bows. So what is the name of the little Cupid, like Cupid. Muse Polemia was the revealer of divine hymns and art. She bestowed knowledge of geometry and grammar. She is depicted looking up to the sky and holding a lyre, this musical instrument. Two more. Muse Orania, was the patron of the knowledge of celestial objects and stars. She revealed the art of astronomy. She is shown carrying stars, a world, and a compass. So probably early sailors would have been interested in the inspiration from this particular muse. And lastly, the muse Calliope was the superior muse. She accompanied kings and princes in order to impose justice and serenity. I wonder if she's the one who holds the scales, huh? Perhaps. She was the primary inspiration behind heroic poems and the spoken arts. So, these are the 9 muses. I found it quite interesting. I thought that it was exclusively for painting or writing, etc., and I didn't realize that it had it was such a comprehensive mixture of different kinds of knowledge. Inspired artists since antiquity, and countless artistic works are actually dedicated to the muses. Every ancient writer invoked the muses at the beginning of their work. Interestingly, in the Buddhism, that the Buddha of wisdom, Manjushri, is very often thanked and invoked at the beginning of a Buddhist work. Homer requests the muses to help him tell the story in both the Iliad and the Odyssey. So, these muses of inspiration very often come in ordinary daily life. No? I think more often in dreams. That when the body is sleeping and the mind, the ordinary mind, is stilled, that there is a greater opportunity to receive inspiration. And of course, it's very helpful to be able to remember your dreams. This is, and there are, of course, in Tibetan Buddhism, there are many forms of dream yoga or analyzing your dream to see what's going on there. So we want to work very hard to be able to remember our dreams so that we can understand things that are going on internally. But in dreams, this is not just the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, that inspiration came in the dreams, or if you have to be Tibetan Buddhist in order to do this, that many of our famous inventions and theoretical processes were revealed in dreams. For example, Einstein, I think we all know, we've heard the story. As a young man, Einstein dreamed that he was sledding down a steep mountainside, going so fast that he approached the speed of light. At this moment, the stars in his dreams changed their appearance in relationship to him. He awoke and meditated on this idea, and he soon formulated what would become one of the most famous scientific theories in the history of mankind. And it came from his dream. Okay? Inspiration? Probably. Just one more, because I found this one interesting too. A man named Elias Howe, who holds the patent for the sewing machine, that he invented the sewing machine based on a dream that helped him understand the mechanics of the needle. He nearly gave up trying to figure out where the eye of the needle should be. He dreamt that he was building a sewing machine for a savage king in a strange country. He was still perplexed in his dream. He was still perplexed about the needle's eye, but then he dreamt that the king gave him 24 hours to complete it, and if it wasn't finished in that time, he would be killed. This is in his dream. And so in his dream, he's working very hard, just like he did in waking life, to figure out how to make this sewing machine work. And but he finally gave up. And just as he was being taken out to be executed, all right, this is a little bit of a pressure. Talk about inspiration. He noticed warriors carrying spears that had a hole on the top. At that moment came the solution. And while he was in the dream, he was begging for more time because he had it. And then he woke up. And that caused him to wake up. And he went to his workshop, and in a few hours, he had a working model of the needle and the sewing machine. Interesting, huh? We thank them because we use that sewing machine. So, the muse seems to have a mind of her own. And so artists, all creative people, are in touch with inspiration. They're in touch with the muse. They're in love with the muse. They feel this will be forever. And then the muse departs. And they're seemingly taking all of their own creativity with her. And this is tragic. This is very tragic. That there are many stories about writers who have writer's block, or poets who court the muse. They're begging the muse to come back. This is not just in the ancient time, but in recent times as well. And when the muse departs, sometimes the artist will take to drugs or alcoholism, drinking, in order to change something in their mind, to relax enough to again be able to contact the muse. And this is a part of the creative act, is how well you can entice the muse to come and remain with you. So many very famous poets, artists, writers do fall into mental illness, into alcoholism, and many other difficulties because something is missing, this important aspect of their life, and they don't know why the muse is gone, but it's gone. Some artists have a certain period of their life when they are very prolific, and then nothing, and then nothing. That the counterpart of the muse are the tantric dakinis. And they're of many kinds and many temperaments. So they are associated with Tantra. So what is Tantra, is my question to myself. Tantra is different from studying about Buddhism or studying about karma or changing your behavior. That Tantra, if we think of it as the inspiration, spiritual inspiration, if we think of it as spiritual creativity, that's one way of looking at it. And by the way, many people today in the creative arts, films, sculptors, writers, many of those people are every day practicing Tibetan Buddhism, Tantric Buddhism, and really considering that the Dakini, such as Vajrayogini, is the source of their creativity. We'll talk about this in a minute here. That Tantra is actually energetic knowledge. It's energetic learning, energetic training, energetic knowledge, rather than intellectual. And Tantra is where we are developing a reliance on higher beings, such as more evolved Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, deities such as Chenrezig, Buddha of Compassion, Manjushri, Buddha of Wisdom, Green Tara, Buddha of Enlightened Activity, or Vajrayogini. So this new relationship, this relationship that one has with tantric deities is extremely important to establish them correctly so that you have a commitment to the awakened state, which is what the deities are drawing you to, rather than, from the Greek, that it was about music, or it was about what you call it, astronomy or astrology or whatever it is, that here, that the goal is not art and knowledge, the goal is awakening. And not just intellectual awakening, but awakening every fiber of your being, your energetic, inner and outer being. And so, the purpose of Tantra is to awaken. But it is an awakening which is the same tantric awakening from in other realms, in other places. It is not a human awakening. It is an awakening of the inner being, which is the transmigrating being who is needing to have higher functioning abilities. And so the Tantra is actually a training program of energetic awakening, of transformation. So you really can't learn about Tantra. You must experience it. You must have the courage to invite the muse, to come and change you. But we don't want, although the art will be a byproduct and powerful creativity happens, that our primary objective is to be inspired to awaken. Yeah. So Tantra is a little bit misunderstood. Okay, a lot misunderstood. That many people equate it to sexuality, but that's not so. That this is a way to understand that it is energetic rather than an intellectual. And so work very hard to try to change people's understanding. So how is Tantra, for those of you who are practicing, how is Tantra different than, for example, mindfulness meditation? How is Tantra different than Theravadan practice, which is not exactly mindfulness, the Theravadan practice? How is it different from the Mahayana Bodhisattva practices? What do you think? Tell me what you think. How is it different? How is it different from mindfulness? It certainly has elements of mindfulness because, of course, we do have behavioral changes that we go through. What would you like to say?
With the Tantra, you're developing a relationship to the deity.
You're developing a relationship to the deity.
Whereas in mindfulness, you're just observing.
You're observing in mindfulness. You're observing your own behavior, your own thoughts. Yes, good. Yes, Zopa, someone on Facebook? No. On the web? Well, no, yes. Energetic knowledge. Yes. I have many that mindfulness is geared more toward the intellectual side, and but I have many students who have come into the Mahayana, which is the primary practices, the Mahayana, and which is Mahayana has two parts, and Vajrayana is Tantra is one part of it. However, I have many students who have come from long, many years of practicing mindfulness meditation and Theravadan meditation, and these are extremely important primary to change the way we think about ourselves and to the way we think about the world and others, that it is an extremely important part of tantric practice is the behaviors and the attitudes found in Theravadan practices. So we do not denigrate them. They are uplifted in our minds. Yes?
Tection says, mindfulness works primarily with the outer mind and body. Tantra works primarily on deeper levels.
That the mindfulness works on the outer body and mind, and Tantra primarily works on the inner mind and inner body. Yes, very good, very good. So, how is it different than the Mahayana Bodhisattva practices? How is Tantra? What happens? When one moves from the Mahayana practices of the six perfections, for example, and enters into tantric practice? What changes? What would you like to say?
One more comment from Sarah Buckley.
Yes.
She says, Tantra takes us out of self-referent creativity.
Tantra takes us out of self-referent creativity. Self-referent creativity. Oh, yeah, good.
Or learning based on our own capacity.
Learning based on our own capacity.
It
Connects us to direct learning
of what was previously beyond us.
Very well said. Very well said. That we actually, Tantra helps us work beyond our own capacity, in the short way of explaining that. And so, in Tantra, we have that there are many kinds of tantric beings. You have your Buddhas, you have bodhisattvas, they are who are tantric beings. You have guardians of the directions, directional guardians. You see them depicted in traditional monasteries, Tibetan monasteries. They may be drawn on the pictures before you go into the monastery or into the temple, the directional guardians, as well as in the mandalas. You may see them at the bottom of tankas like that. They look very Mongolian, wearing armor, etc. I think perhaps there is a Mongolian influence there. And you have also Dharma protectors, which does not occur really in any of the other aspects of Buddhist spirituality, the Dharma protectors. And then you have your Dakas and Dakinis. So Dakinis, Dakas are the male, and the Dakinis are the female counterpart. So they're male, female. And so the term Dakini is Sanskrit language. Its Tibetan equivalent is Khandro. And Khandro means skywalker, one who can go easily through the sky. And all dakinis are in female form. So there's both enlightened and unenlightened dakinis of various classes, field-born, mantra-born, higher or lower dakinis, who arrive in several different ways. That there are spontaneously enlightened ones who arise from emptiness according to the needs of living beings. Examples would be of Buddha-level dakinis, such as Buddha Green Tara, and the bliss queen Buddha Vajrayogini. Then there are those dakinis who are born from within the heaven realms. There are those who are born by virtue of their realizations These are human beings who have reached various stages, various levels of inner realizations, and who have actually merged with their inner Dakini power. They then become Dakinis. And there are also females who are born at one of the 24 outer holy places associated with the Dakinis or Vajrayogini, Heruka, Vajrayogini, practice such as Parping, which is, did you come to Parping with me? No? In Nepal? One of the 24 holy places of Vajrayogini. And I was on pilgrimage. I took a number of students on pilgrimage. And we spent time at Parping, which is a very powerful power place of Vajrayogini. Unenlightened Dakinis are called worldly Dakinis because they're still caught in the cycles of cyclic existence of samsara. Now don't be scared. Worldly Dakinis are found in human form, worldly, as well as astral forms, and could appear like a beautiful fairy-like, very ethereal lady in a dream, etc., or as a demonic flesh-eater. So, an example of a worldly Dakini are the 5 evil sisters that the great yogi Saint Padmasambhava tamed and turned them into Dharma protectors. Dakinis that had to be tamed, all right? Another example might be an advanced human practitioner that has accomplished some insight but has not yet awakened. What all the various forms of Dakinis have in common is their extraordinary energy and the ability to bestow energy or stir the energy of the individual practitioner or the energy of others. That if one is doing practice on Vajrayogini or other Dakinis, that one has to have a very stable mind so that their energy is not thrown into chaos. And in addition, if one is invoking, like the Muse, for a spiritual power or for artistic creativity, invoking just come Dakinis, you don't know what kind of Dakinis are coming, huh? That you want to make sure. And when there are many worldly Dakinis not in human form who can really do strange things to your mind, unless you're very powerful, like Padmasambhava, who was able to tame even the worst of the Dakinis, and one of the most powerful, and he was actually able to tame them. So, like the muses who become uncontrollable and come and go, the ancients knew this. Why did they come? Why did they go? Why couldn't the artist hold the muse? Why can't the person who wants to become enlightened and needs the energy in order to become enlightened? You're not going to get enlightened without this powerful inspiration, surge of creativity that puts you into the awakened state. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but anyway, I said it. You're going to need it, but if you can't control it, you won't get it, and it will stir your energy in ways that you're not prepared to deal with. So this is why tantric practice gradually introduces you to those levels of energy, and helps you through the mentorship process, helps you stabilize those energies until you're strong enough to be able to awaken by having this huge burst of creativity that will actually cause you to awaken. And so this is why they call Tantra a little bit dangerous. That you need to know what you're doing. You need to do it under the auspices of a qualified mentor. You need to have a steady practice, and you need to have a great deal of capacity to hold energy, right? So enlightened dakinis are called wisdom dakinis. This is the one we really want. Vajrayogini is depicted as blood red in color, naked, except for the elaborate ornaments of human bone, and a necklace of skulls which correspond to the 16 vowels and 34 consonants of the Sanskrit language. So again, I see a similarity between the muse and the bestowal of the divine power of the Sanskrit language, bringing knowledge into this world. And so living being inspiration is the best kind of inspiration. That many people have chosen to be inspired by books or films or their own creativity, but to have the opportunity to be in touch with, for example, the sacred Buddha level being of Vajrayogini, who has immense power and compassion, is extremely valuable. It's extremely valuable. And the living presence is what helps you work beyond your capacity. So it's, how does spirituality in general change our capacity for creativity or change? How does spirituality in general, whether you're tantric or whether you're practicing mindfulness or whether you're seeing your spirituality in the form of dance or art or creativity or running or whatever you're seeing spirituality is, how does it change our capacity for creativity or for change? Tough question? Not really. Huh? How does it change us?
Well, you kind of talked about it for the past half hour, establishing that connection and the immense energy and creativity that comes from a deeper connection.
Yes. How does your spirituality in general, though, change our capacity? My first answer is you feel more energized. Your spirituality causes you to feel more energized, and in that way, it's what helps you become capable of change, and it helps you feel comfortable with change because it feels so good. And now we go back to the first part, and we're saying, what is it about inspiration? It causes our well-being, our spirituality causes our well-being, that it makes us feel healthy, it makes us feel wholesome, it makes us feel virtuous, or that we're doing the right thing, that everything that we wanted from inspiration we get when we combine spirituality with our desire for change, because it's the thing that helps us change. It brings us the energy to change. Is there something we...
Yes.
Yeah.
So text says spirituality is working at a deeper level.
Spirituality is working at a deeper level.
So it brings forth creativity from a deeper place.
Brings our creativity from a deeper place, absolutely. That spirituality makes us feel safe to be more open. And when we're more open, somehow we become more clarity to our own creativity, as well as more receptive to inspiration, deeper inspiration, coming through emptiness, evolving, or not evolving, but emitted through emptiness, and coming into manifestation for those people who are prepared and who are willing to do the work to become enlightened, to become awakened. Yes.
Dorje has a similar comment. Spirituality provides
A deeper unseen aspect. My second answer is how does it help us change our capacity? We become more uplifted. We become more positive, that we feel literally lifted. We don't feel heavy. We feel lighter. We feel as though our mind is becoming more free. And that is due to, that changes our capacity for creativity. So this is the final answer. We want to be more creative. We want to have inspiration. We want to feel good. We don't want to suffer for our art. We don't want to, we want to feel in control of our creativity, and yet the most creative people are not in control of their own creativity, that it's coming from an unseen, deeper source that they trust implicitly. And this is the way, this is exactly the same in Tantra, that we have an implicit trust that Dakini will help us achieve the goals of transformation, and we do not feel, we allow our own creativity, our outer creativity, to blossom, and we create this amazing thing in the world, whether that is art or dance or writing, and the tremendous. It's as though someone who is creative and is a tantric practitioner, that they have enough left over to spill into creative acts in their own life. And so Tibetan Buddhism, I think among many world religions, Tibetan Buddhism seems to attract the most creative people. And this is great. This creates an atmosphere of liveliness, of people who are allowed to think for themselves, people who have an unbounded creativity, who are encouraged, because as soon as you have reliance on the great Dakini, the bliss queen, Vajrayogini, is not as a sexual thing. She is powerful, ultimate creativity. And so when you have this, when you have the change in your capacity, you automatically become more comfortable with change. And that's really what we want. We want an opportunity to change where we don't feel as though we're being forced to change. There's no onerous rules that we have to follow, that we are drawn into change, beneficial change. 2,500 years, the Buddha has been the patron. He is our Daka. He is our muse. that as long as we are following the careful behaviors that he has outlined, that we find ourselves gradually drawn into a dynamic with the Dakini. It's automatic. It's natural to help us become awakened. You should have been awakened already. Buddha Vajrayogini, it is said in the Heruka Tantras that as the times degenerate and other practices become weaker, and they become more, that they lose their power simply because of time, that Vajrayogini practice is different, because as we grow closer to the end of civilization, the end of the time of the Buddha's teachings, the Kali Yuga, there's many different names for it, the degeneration, the stronger she becomes, because we need that strength in order to be able to make changes. In earlier times, it was very easy to change. People were perhaps more gentle, more receptive to change, but people are more difficult nowadays. And so Vajrayogini practice is considered to be one of the premier practices of spirituality today. And I'm very proud to say that I am a practitioner of Vajrayogini for many, many lives. And excuse me if I'm overly enthusiastic. However, we have so many identical ideas between the Greek goddesses that there must be the same power behind it that is being used in different kinds of societies. One tending more toward transformation, another one tending more toward the worldly arts and knowledge, etc., the accumulation of knowledge, but still coming from divine sources. So I myself see a tremendous similarity between Vajrayogini as well as the practice of the muses. There were temples built to the muses. And so we have this opportunity to become not only feeling comfortable about change, but we actually participate in change. We become so cooperative to change because we see what is valuable. We see what is beautiful. We see what is wholesome. We see what is spiritual arts, and that is transformation. So I want to thank you for this chance. I think we might have, we're a little bit over, but if there's any question, I might answer one or two here now. Please.
Earlier in the teaching, you gave the example of Einstein, who had the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And you also talked about how in Tibetan Buddhism, people will make prayers or callings towards Manjushri.
Calling toward Manjushri in Tibetan system.
But it seems like Einstein's relationship or connection with that muse was not something where he was calling towards.
He wasn't calling.
Is there a difference between a natural connection with the muse and a cultivated calling toward a muse type of?
You know, that although it seems as though our world is made up of individual people and divided into countries and neighborhoods and individuality, that really a society or the needs of living beings come to a head at certain times where a certain kind of knowledge is really needed in order for that society or that world to move on in the world evolutionary development. And so Einstein was capable and interested, and perhaps had some strong karmic connections with this particular kind of knowledge, and in the dream state was able to have this dream, which you've probably had very similar dreams, but you didn't have that Einstein had. And so when you woke up, you didn't go, oh, I wonder if this could possibly mean E equals mc squared, like that. I wonder if this is the truth of relativity. We just go, oh, Rinpoche, I had a weird dream. Can I tell you about it? And so the laws of inner physics, are have an outer counterpart, which is illusory, because this world is illusory. And so there is a kind of echo. There's a kind of echo of the real physics. And quantum mechanics is only beginning to discover, to look at these areas of more subtle physics as being the actual ground and the actual creative elements of the manifestation of our world, as well as telling us, that on a subatomic level, that they don't exist in this physical form that we see them in now. And so they're confused, and people just keep going on, buying new cars and painting pictures and hoping for the best and having babies and puppies. Whereas there are only a few people who are really have the courage to say, I want to know what is real and what is true. I want to know Einstein, the theory of everything, that we as tantric practitioners, that we want to know the theory of everything. We want to know what it's about. And this is what Buddha Shakyamuni went off to discover. He wanted to know. He wanted to know why these things were happening. He discovered the root of these, the root of manifestation, which is in reality. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it's so interesting. Yes. What causes the muse to leave? It's because that individual becomes toxic. The muse would stay forever. But when it becomes toxic due to negative thinking, perhaps emerging alcoholism and drug addiction, etc., not taking care of their own mind, that the muse can no longer sustain presence there, and so must depart. But the person often tries to go to their more subtle place, to extreme relaxation, to a place where their mind is not disturbed, where they can again hear the muse, and in the meantime they are feeling so bad about themselves. They're feeling a financial pinch because they can't produce whatever it is that they did for money, and so it was hard for them to get it back because they were so upset about it being gone. And whereas in Tibetan Buddhism, that we have methods to invite the Dakini, and tonight is Sok. Many of you are doing or about to do Lama Chöpa Sok, which is the Vajra feast and inviting Vajrayogini. And so these are, as well as different practices, the Vajrayogini sadhana, that we maintain ourselves in a way that we become capable of inviting the Dakini to stay. And so our inspiration, our creativity, all goes toward a higher evolutionary process. So only this much tonight. Thank you for tuning in, whatever they call this. And perhaps in next month we'll choose another subject. Good night. Gewa dinyo dudak lama sangi dukerne dro chike malupa de salago parsho.